I couldn't be any more excited right now.
Those hands were filled with poop-stained underwear, which he allegedly smeared on the face of his victim.
Do you realize what percentage of your opening conversations are about bathrooms, Merrill?
Sometimes when you look through the little hole between the stalls, you can see another guy. You should just look him in the eyes the entire time.
I think you have the wrong expectations for what's going to go down here. We're going off the rails here. Maybe football instead.
It's always next year. Happy Marooned Without a Compass Day, which is one of the weirder holidays we've come across.
That's pretty grim.
Even for this particular holiday. Week 10 is here, and we are in the stretch run of our Fantasy Football League regular season. Hillers, what's going on, man?
Oh, well, it's the same as normal, except I'm a little more... I finally cashed in my chips, I think, this week, so...
Yeah.
I think Marooned Without a Compass is actually... pretty good day for me, actually, right now.
It has many fantasy parallels, that's for sure.
Yeah, and, I'm basically throwing messages into the ocean at this point. That's right.
There's only two of us right now. Anthony, unable to make it this week. We're not entirely sure why. He said he needed a break. I'm not sure if that was just from fantasy in general because he was spending too much time on it or just because he was driving himself crazy with all the...
Well, the strain, it gets to you.
He's had a bad break the past couple of weeks. I mean, he's still a playoff team, so I'm not sure what the break is that he's really worried about. But yeah, so Marooned Without a Compass Day it is.
Me and you, Merrill, we've both already embraced the fact that we're probably going to fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that mathematically the odds are grossly that we're losers, right?
Yeah.
It's like, But him, he's still under the pressure of being someone that might have some success.
Well, yeah, and he was looking at his cherry matchup with the Wiener, thinking, all right, here's a victory for me, and then they put up, 120 points on him. So
yeah, he got beat.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit, but we're going to go back to the old traditional method here of we'll do some team overviews, we'll do some power rankings, and then I don't know, we might do predictions. It's a doubleheader week, and that takes a while, and I don't know if people really care about that anyway. So. We'll see how it goes, but anyway, Hillers, just like old times, man.
Yeah.
So
let's do this, kick it old school.
The other thing, we're not sure if Anthony's looking for Richie Incognito, to take him on. I don't know what's going on there, but what do you think of this, Hillers? There's a lot of bullying going on in the NFL. Turns out, were you ever bullied like this?
Well, I think I did play football for a little while in high school, and I think that I was actually so pathetic at it that no one felt any need to bully me. It was more like the sad little dogs that you see in the Sarah McLachlan commercials.
Yeah, you were the underdog. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, and it wasn't, if anything, I got bullied by the coaches, because if you weren't playing, then you got turned into sort of a live motion dummy for our varsity linebackers. And at the time, we must have had, I don't know, like 3,000 kids in the school. They hadn't built the new high school yet. It was grossly overpopulated. So they were like 6'7", 350 pounds. I mean, they were monstrous men. Just huge people.
Yeah.
And they used to get yelled at if they didn't hit me hard enough. And they'd be like, "Oh, but coach, he's so small and weak." And I'd be like, "No, you hit him harder." And they'd be like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
no,
but
not too much.
This is
no, but Incognito is a dick face, and he's probably been a dick his whole life.
Yeah.
And had a little dick haven in football where he's like, oh well, he's a big dick. He's a he's a big wannabe redneck frat boy. Yeah, he's Ricky.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he lost his job. Guy seems like a complete cock.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get, people come out and they say, oh, how can you be bullied when you're a big 350-pound lineman? How can you, guess what? You're being bullied by other people your size, for one.
Because somebody who's been there at his job is being a complete cock to you all the time, day after day.
A hostile workplace is a hostile workplace no matter what you do, right?
Well, and you don't want to be the guy to punch him in the face either, because then you're in the wrong. What you tell a little kid to stop a bully is not what you can tell an adult to stop a bully.
All right.
The guy's just a dick.
And my guess is it's not just him. He's probably just a leader of some group of jerks that are picking on rookies.
Yeah, the Dolphins
didn't
seem to. Well, and there is a certain amount of rookie hazing that goes on. Sure. It general stuff. But I mean, this seemed to have gone above and beyond a little bit to me. You know what I mean? And obviously the guy that they were after had, you know, not your standard football player ready to take, like, maybe even a standard amount, much less this complete, you know, barrage of assholery that, you know, so
Yeah.
the Dolphins didn't seem too concerned about it, but they really should, because that's a team that's going right down the sinkhole right now. So.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, they just lost 2 offensive linemen to this mess, and I mean, you know, I guess I just get frustrated with media who comes out right away and assumes they know everything and just says, "Oh, well, you know, you got ex-players saying, oh, that's just how things are. You know, I never, you know, I'd punch him in the mouth if it were me." And it's like, well, you don't know that. You're not in the situation. Nobody knows.
No one in the
what's
media is punching Ricky Incognito in the mouth.
I know,
Let me put that to bed right now.
It's like, you know, let's
Not
just
more,
slow down.
Not more than once, anyway. They wouldn't do that.
Let's not jump to conclusions, think we know everything based on a few Adam Schefter reports, and let's just let it play out. You know, everybody's freaking out about, like, they can't understand it, but I don't know. I feel bad for everyone involved, you know, especially the guy
It's
who
a
had
crappy
to leave.
situation.
I mean, how bad did it have to be for him to quit his dream job?
Well, it seemed like he might have been sort of a sensitive kind of guy either. But, I mean, I'm not trying to put it on him. I'm just saying, you know, gets to some people more than others. You got a lot of people playing in the league, so.
So if there were a bully in our league, who do you think it would be?
Nick.
Yeah?
Yeah. I can't say 2 sentences without that guy coming after me these days.
That's true. He does bully you. He does pick on you.
He picks on me all the time.
He brought up the old Steve Johnson thing again today.
Oh, yeah, every day.
Every time Every time there's a player exchange of some kind, that gets brought up.
Any trade I make for the rest of my life, Steve Johnson's got to be mentioned.
Yeah, I think it would be Nick. I mean, it might be. Could you see Evan being that?
No, because he doesn't say very much. He just his team bullies you.
Yeah.
And then he'll throw disdain your way every once in a while. But I mean, I'm worse than that.
Yeah, you know? I don't know that we've got one.
I'm as big a bully as anybody in this league.
Yeah, I guess
it's meant in good cheer.
We've got the bully pulpit.
We got the bully
so.
pulpit, right?
Yeah.
So you can only use the bully pulpit for one thing.
That's true. Yeah.
It's bullying.
So, well, there seems to be an open bullying spot in our league if somebody wants to step up and be the Richie Incognito.
It's fine. Leave it be. That spot is vacant.
We didn't even haze our rookies. We missed out on that. We should have hazed them. What could we have done?
Oh, I'll haze them.
We could have said, give all your good players to the veterans, and, you know, you got to...
Yeah. We just tell them it's part of our standard rookie hazing. You have to choose a player to give to us.
Although nobody wants anybody on the wing, so...
I want LaShawn McCoy.
Well, yeah.
Give him to me, rookie!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it's headed to the waiver wire right now, as we speak.
So let's get into the team overviews. We've got only 4 games left, Hillers, and I think we've got something like 7 or 8 teams still technically in the hunt in this thing. So some more than others.
Not as close as previous years, but you know, there's still a little bit of intrigue here. It's going to definitely be a lot more intrigue once the playoffs start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got the 2 teams at 9-3 looking like they're going to win their divisions. And then we've got my division where we got 3 teams at 7-5, and then a 5-7 as the worst team, which is.
So you do have the worst division, I guess.
Or the best, because we're the only division with 3, with 3 teams over 1,200 points. So I think we're honestly the best division. So.
Well, you really screwed that up then, Mike.
Yeah, well, let this be a lesson to people who think that you can rig something the next year or we know anything.
Because Merrill tried his best.
I did. I tried my hardest, and sure enough, Troy quits, and in comes Danny Grimes drafting all the Saints. So and all these dark uniform people. But yeah, so let's start with
rename them the Dead Darkies.
The Dead Darkies.
For the uniforms.
For the uniforms.
For the uniforms.
Right. Let's get into our team overviews here quickly. The Melon Ballers division is where we start with our highest scoring team, as we start every week with our highest scoring team. And this week, that was the Sex Cannons. They beat Dave's team. Now, we knew Dave's team was going to struggle this week because the Niners and the Giants were on bye.
Yeah, if you can call 93 points a struggle.
Well, again, I mean, he
much
didn't
better
even struggle that much, but he got doubled because Evan put up 180.4 points.
Jeez.
Only good enough for second this year, to the highest score. But
that is insane.
And Dave puts up 93.6. So Evan has now won 6 games in a row. He was 3-3. Now he's 9-3. I feel like he's done it kind of quietly. Like nobody's really, not as
It's
loud
only
as he was
quiet
last
because
year.
we haven't been talking about it on the podcast. But
Yeah.
I mean, and initially it was put off to just good doubleheader week performances. But with
Right.
guys like Andrew Luck and with Eddie Lacy now, especially with Aaron Rodgers going to be out,
Right.
and a really solid receiving core that just got better for him.
hmm
And this is one of the strongest teams in the league, even though they lost.
Yeah,
But
so
we're not
he-
talking about them, right?
Yeah, we are. He would have to go 0-4, and Nick would have to go 4-0 from here on out for Evan to lose this division, and he'd have to catch him in points. So Evans pretty much clinched this division.
Yeah,
He's
but
pretty
the
much
guys I mentioned were on Dave's team.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
We're not
it
talking
is,
about
so-
Dave yet. So.
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty to say about the quarterback on Evan's team, though.
right?
Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's gonna have the best this year? Someone says Hillers this year. Some quarterback is gonna have the best passing game in history, and
Yeah.
then Peyton Manning would have done it in week 1. I go, oh, there it is. There's the best passing game in history. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Foles
Yeah.
with another 7 touchdowns.
So there's been
22
two.
for 28, 409 yards, and no picks. He only managed 30% of his passes in the week prior. Where the hell did that come from? He outscored the Chupanipres by himself.
He threw 28 passes. 7 of them were for touchdowns. A quarter of his passes were touchdown passes, which is
It's a
crazy.
perfect passer rating. He got 158 points. It's the maximum level.
So let me ask you this: do you think there's any? I mean, I guess you can't really trade him, but like, what do you see from Nick Foles from here on out?
Well, obviously not this.
Right.
I mean-
I know obviously it's somewhere in the middle of between this and his previous weeks, but I mean, what
I
are
would
you buying this at
still
all?
tend right now. I would still tend a little bit more towards his previous weeks. Like you said, a lot of it was 28 passes. Okay, that's not 63 passes with a perfect quarterback rating. That's not a team that's reliant on passes. And I can't help but remember Matt Flynn's performance last year, where he had 6 touchdowns or something against
2
the
years
Lions.
ago. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then everyone's like, oh, hidden gem, back up under Aaron Rodgers, let's go get him. And now I think he's back out of work. I think the Packers could go, and they might want to go get him again,
Yeah,
rather
they
than
might.
have Seneca Wallace in there.
I think he's
but
on the
it's like
Bills now, right? Anyway,
just got
who
released
cares?
because EJ
Oh.
Manuel's coming back. But it's an amazing, exceptional performance, and I think maybe we did underestimate Nick Foles, but I'm not ready to crown anything Nick Foles based on this game.
Yeah. So Foles had a good game. Between Nick Foles and Andre Johnson, Evan had 103.5 points between 2 players. He would have beaten 7 teams in the league if he just started those 2 players, which is that's got to be a first for the series.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
this is just one of the craziest stat weeks we've ever seen. I mean, it's
That's
just,
crazy.
and Evan was.
let me just read you Nick Foles prior to this. 7.8. These are his weeks. 7.8, 19.9, 36, 5.7, 59 points. Oh wait, hurt or didn't play, and then 59.6.
concussed. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you make of that? I mean, you got 2 weeks that are like, whoa, great weeks,
Yeah, I mean, he's still not a guy you can trust.
and
You know,
the
you
rest
want-
is crap.
At quarterback,
Well-
you want a guy you can plug in, you can trust, and I don't think even after this week, I don't think he's that guy. Like, I don't think
It's
even
too small a sample size to say anything for sure, but I would not say that this is going to be one of the future's elite quarterbacks just yet.
Right, he's quarterback by committee kind of scenario here, like a team who has also like Alex Smith and I don't know, Kaepernick or something. You might roll Foles in a good matchup.
But let's talk about Andre Johnson. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy hasn't exceeded 15 points all season and has had a bunch of under 10 games. Most of his games under 10 points.
Yeah.
Is this him being back? Is this him having just an amazing day? He only got thrown to 9 times, but that was enough for 3 touchdowns and 229 yards. So it's just this team didn't appropriately guard him as a deep threat.
I think it's Case Keenum is what it is.
Evan is asking to join. Says he needs an invite.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I know he does. I've sent him invites, but I'll send him another one. This is excellent podcast work here we're doing.
Yeah, but still another host.
So I just sent him another one. So we'll see. But yeah, I think it's Case Keenum. I think he's more of a downfield thrower than Matt Schaub is, and that's Andre Johnson's strength. Let's be honest. He's a big, giant, fast man with great hands. And, you see him in single coverage, you lob it up to him, and that's what Keenum did. I mean, every time he saw him in single coverage, hey, there's my beast of a receiver. Let me throw it to him.
Sure. And I don't think it's going to take too much, conversely, though, for the next defense down the line to be like, hey, maybe put a safety back there.
Right.
I think this is 1 or 2 game films away from being maybe, not quite as bad as he had been under Schaub, but not anywhere near this season.
So what do we think about Evans' team the rest of the way here? I mean, are they? I mean, they're a favorite. I mean, they're right back on top. I mean,
top 3 team, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is even though he's struggling, there's enough guys that could come and contribute here that you never know exactly which one it's going to be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's taking a lot of hits, but I mean, he's got Crabtree possibly coming back late in the season as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for the week that Peyton Manning was on a bye to pick up Nick Foles in this week of all weeks, it shows Evans' true strength, which is being the luckiest son of a bitch ever anywhere.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, that's enough on Evans' team. I mean, great week for him.
Well, tell him he missed it if he ever makes it.
I mean, the thing is, he kind of knew he was going to win this week anyway, even though Dave didn't put up the stinker we thought he would because Andrew Luck went bonkers, and Eddie Lacy did too. But
regular bonkers, not 60-point bonkers.
All right, let's get into the next team here in this division, which is the Light Sabertooth Tigers, who are on a bit of a skid here. They lost to the Assassins. They put up 81.5 points, and they lose to Assassins, who put up 125. They fall to 5-7, but they're second place in the division. They're 4 games back, only 2 games out of the wild card right now. Can we write Nick off here, Hillers? I mean, is this a team that can bounce back? He's got good skills.
I hesitate to write him off because even in the last few weeks when we say he's been on a skid, I mean, he put up 80 this week and the hundreds the last couple of weeks before that. But before that, he had 120 and then again 89. It's like he seems to be cruising along that point level that you can usually win but will sometimes lose, Mm-hmm. And I just think that it's not necessarily his team so much as his competition just being a little bit sharper. Right. You know what I mean?
A little unlucky in the matchups.
Right. And, the team is good. And if you look at the midseason review, and to tout the midseason review, go back and read it, people. It's,
right.
Visions of your future past.
The more hits he gets, the more money he gets.
Maybe. I don't know. But, I think he actually got a little lucky to put up 81 points with Josh McCown and Stephen Ridley both getting over 20 this week. A.J. Green had a normal week, and everybody else, they're all hit or miss. So, except for maybe Jordan Cameron. Jordan Cameron has been exceptional this season. I don't mean to discount him. He had a bad week. He underperformed. But even if he'd had a great week, he still wouldn't have beat Watson. So, I think he's going to slightly miss the playoffs. I think we got a strong toilet bowl contender on our hands just because of the remaining schedule and the type of guys I'm seeing here. So
I mean, not technically out of it, but he's got no room for error basically, and he needs
none. And he's starting Kenny Stills.
He needs to run the table. But Evan is still texting, trying to get in here. I don't know why this is complicated, but
well, what do you have to send him to get him in here?
I've sent it 3 times now.
Well, obviously that's not working. What else can we do? Did you tell him to go to Google Plus and then type in Sandlotcast?
No, but I can't. We're in the middle of a podcast. I can't be worrying about Evan. Okay, so anyway, Nick's team pretty good. He loses Sproles here, but the Roddy White trade not really working out for him. Roddy White's still struggling. But I think it's a team that again could make it, but probably too far behind the 8 ball here. Let's move on here. We're gonna move on to Brett's team next. Peanut Butter Jelly Time. They lose to the Dad Dicks, 91.9 to 100.5. Maybe because they did not start a kicker this week because he was out of money, and this goes into some fab management. I mean, he lost by 9 points.
I mean, that's quite speculative.
It is, but he lost by 9 points. I mean, 9 points for kicker isn't unreasonable. And, you can go out to the waiver wire and see there were kickers out there who scored 9 this week. So, maybe he handed Grimes. That means the Dad Dicks are now 7-5 instead of 6-6, and maybe he gave him a playoff.
It's possible, but I mean, it's a little presumptuous to say, I know we've got a kicker that scores 9 points. I mean, 9 points is a totally plausible kicker score, but there's a lot of kickers that didn't score, 9 points this week.
Well, that said, I mean, he's still...
My kicker didn't score 9 points.
We thought this team was dead, Hiddlers. What do you think about Mike James? Do you think if he continues like this, do you think Doug Martin gets the sole job back when he comes back?
That's always got to be a question, when a guy does so well with the chance that he's been given. Having said that, we're talking about one game with real performance behind it. One game.
Oh, he's only played 2.
Well, yeah, but you can't pass against Seattle, and he had 28 rushing attempts. You know what I mean? So I'm not willing to say we got a running back controversy on our hands just yet. If he has another 1 or 2 games this way, then maybe I'd be leaning more in that direction.
He had a better game than Doug Martin's had this year.
That's true.
Against the Seahawks,
That's true. I'm not saying he's untalented. Maybe he's really good. And honestly, the way just general coaching is going these days with committees, anytime a guy gets hurt, hell, I'd be worried about Darren McFadden and Rashad Jennings. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even though McFadden is so much, I think a more talented back, coaches don't seem to be caring about that as much. I mean, I would say Andre Ellington is more talented back than Rashard Mendenhall, but the Cardinals don't seem to care. You know what I mean? It's about changing the pace and keeping guys in there, right?
There's a lot more that goes into being a running back than just being faster and shiftier than the other
guy.
Right,
and you got pass blocking is very important.
And so they
that
trust.
Doesn't show up on fantasy stats. So
right, it's about who the coaches trust in that scenario to not get their quarterback killed on a blitz. So yeah, there's that. But I mean, this kind of goes to a bigger discussion, I think, in that this year it seems like you would rather have the handcuff of a good running back on a good offense versus diversifying and having just a bunch of running backs who are starters. Like you'd rather have. It's almost turning out like if you have Arian Foster, you'd rather draft Ben Tate instead of drafting Rashard Mendenhall, or you'd rather draft, if you have LaShawn McCoy, you'd rather draft, someone instead of drafting.
Let me give you the caveat to that is, boy, I'd really like to make sure my fragile DeMarco Murray is ready. Let me get Lance Dunbar.
Sure.
Oh no, it's not Lance Dunbar. I mean, so it's a little bit.
Yeah. But still, I mean, there's that old caveat, the old caveat of, well, it's just starting running back. He's, you got to start him. He's a starting running back. Not always the case. I mean, guys like Mendenhall and Trent Richardson and there's a lot of guys out there who've just been bad this year. Just bad running backs.
Our expectations for running backs were sadly disappointed on many fronts this year. I mean, I would say Giovanni Bernard has been, the best of the rookie running backs. And is he worth $40? I don't know. That's a lot of money. So, did you see, by the way, your boy Arian Foster was on the trading block? As long as we're talking about Brett's team, you keep telling me how great he is. At $50, you should go trade for him. You could make a run to the playoffs still.
The trade deadline's gone now. I'm not in a position to trade for this year.
I should have hit you on that yesterday, but I'm shocked you weren't throwing offers in his face.
I mean, the
how
guy
great he is at $50.
The games he played, he put up points.
Well, you'll probably be able to buy him next season. So
yeah, hopefully I can. But yeah, Brett's team. Anywhere we can say he went wrong here? I mean, did he just?
No, I mean Vincent Jackson is good. He even got a snag that I failed to recognize soon enough in getting Alshon Jeffrey. I dropped him after week 3 after his third in a row sub 6-point performance, and then since then he's put up all things in the 20s and teens. So,
right.
Good for him. Especially considering Greg Jennings was terrible. But just some tough bets for him. It's like betting on the Jaguars receivers this year. Ugh. And betting on the Bucks in general, bad.
Well, his quarterback situation didn't really work out either. I mean, everybody
Phillip Rivers has been fine.
Has he? Look at his points. Hey, there he is.
Did he finally make it?
He made it. But look at Rivers' points. I mean, he started.
Finally made
He
it.
started well. He went 30, 35, 13, 31, but since then he's been pretty much in the teens every week.
Well, here, let's throw it over to the new guy. Evan, Phillip Rivers. Bum or okay?
He's fine.
All right.
Conclusive. Thanks a lot.
Man of a few words. Less is more. I like it.
We already reviewed your team.
Well,
and
one,
concluded
I
you're
don't
a
know what you
complete
guys have been saying
bastard.
about him. I mean, he's been.
Hello?
I mean, who are you going to start him over? He's still.
For the rest of this season, if you're Brett, do you start RG3 or Phillip Rivers against the generic opponent? How about that?
I think he's lagging out. We're going to keep going here, Evan. Wow.
Yeah, it's like we got him on a satellite.
You guys
feed.
can't hear me?
No, we can hear you. I
You're
think we're
just-
just getting our audio late. We
You're
got to put
lagging.
you out in a hurricane or something.
What we were talking about, Evan, just to kind of bring you up to speed, is we're saying Robert Griffin and Phillip Rivers for Brett's team. Maybe something that went wrong. I mean, he was planning on Griffin having a big, kind of sophomore year, maybe kind of, going to the next level, and really, or just being as good as he was last year. Even, I mean, that would have been maybe enough to get Brett a few more wins here. But one of the one of the things that went bad for this team. Maybe we're trying to figure out where he went wrong.
One of the things I would say, yeah, I think they're about equal as far as against a generic opponent. So it has to be just play the matchups.
Yeah. Okay. What are you stroking there? Is that like your evil cat that you're stroking or something in your
It's his voodoo hex.
The microphone.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to move it closer to my mouth, see if that helps, but I don't think it helps.
No, I
It's-
think
it's-
you're still lagging a little bit.
It's what it
on
gives
us,
him
but-
his power. No, it's
I
not a
can hear
volume
It's about
issue.
a 5-second lag. Yeah, it's like a 5-second lag.
Yeah. It's like we got him on satellite. It's like one of those
No,
awkward
I can hear.
right.
sports
I can hear
interviews.
my
It's like he's in a war zone.
my sound in your background.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we'll give you a few
all right,
seconds
well, let's-
before we
let's-
ask you anything.
Yeah, let's move on to the Chupa Libres here. They're going to be our next team. Evan, we're just going through some team overviews here. Thanks for joining us, by the way, Evan. And happy Marooned Without a Compass Day to you, by the way. But the should we wait?
Yeah, we'll see how long I stay.
For him to acknowledge
stay
your lame
keen on this.
holiday? No,
Yeah.
we're fine.
All right, the Chupa Libres are our next team here. They lose.
Ugh.
They lose to Hillers in shameful battle of the week here.
This is disgusting.
They put up 49.4 points to Hillers 67. They've now lost 5 in a row. They fall to 3-9. The ship has sunk on this team. They're in 4th place in the division and they have been, I think, mathematically eliminated at this point. So, Evan, we'll go to you here. What do you think happened to this team? I mean, was this a team you were a fan of throughout the year, or is this a team that just never really panned out, or should he made more moves? What do you think here?
I'm talking about the old Chupa Libres here. Let me quickly remind myself who's on their team.
Okay.
Oh, their running backs just have been a disaster, and then they've had, 2 receivers. Pretty much their team is 2 receivers, and then Tony Gonzalez having only a good game every once in a while.
Right.
It's a team that isn't going to perform from week to week. It's just a bad team this year. Good players, but they're not fantasy relevant this year.
It seemed like they might have been good players, and only in one case did I think his expectations exceed, the expectations he probably had going into the season, which is Wes Welker.
Yes.
Who was performing as a number 1 wide receiver for sure. He was dead on. Great whatnot. Everybody else, major disappointment. And in some cases you should have known, but this guy's been starting 2 tight end for weeks.
Antonio Brown and a lot of his average, per game average is really based off that 30-point game that he had early in the season. And he had that touchdown this past week, but otherwise he's been more PPR based. He's under 10 points I think every other game. Maybe he had one other game above 100 yards. I don't remember, but he's even been somewhat of a disappointment from week to week, if not by point total.
Let me ask you, Evan, would you keep Trent Richardson for next season at $44 the way he's performed this season?
You can't do it unless you see some sea change in
That's
production
You
in
can't.
preseason.
Well,
No, you
Which
can't
is
do it.
one of few things this team even had going for it. So.
The first couple weeks that he was in Indy, he was getting met behind the line. They were just running him up the middle, and he was getting hit, slammed, and down. And he was breaking tackles at a really good rate too. Like it was still like an elite rate. I think some website that tracks that stuff. But these last couple weeks, he's not even showing that anymore. It's like he thought he was going to have this change, and then just now it's demoralizing. And you're in a timeshare with Donald Brown.
Never where you want to find yourself.
Yeah, that seems like a major drop in stature.
It's a disappointment.
So he's got the second lowest points for at this point. Just only team behind him is the Wigné. He's got the second highest points against. That's going to lead to bad things. I mean, he's had bad matchups, and he hasn't really had the breakout potential. He's never really had a week where you said, "Wow, this team's really good." He hovered around like high 90s for a while, and that's about it. I mean, like you said, Evan, no real good RB1 or maybe even RB2. I mean, any of his running backs, you can say, "Yeah, I'm okay with them as a flex," but you're not comfortable starting these guys as RB1s or 2s. So
he
again,
started with three drafted running backs with MJD, Trent Richardson, and Mendenhall, and all of them have underwhelmed.
Yeah.
And the first couple weeks he was scoring decently. I remember right.
Before week 6, he was always in the 90, 100 point range.
And he was actually getting unlucky by points against. He was like one of the top points against now. But now he's trending down. He's not even scoring points.
Right, now he's not doing better than any of the other losers.
So.
Well, the Matt Ryan hurt him because he's got no weapons now, so Ryan's struggling. And with that is Tony Gonzalez and his running backs. Like you said, Mendenhall killed him this year. Just you always have those players that can go either way for you, and it seems like none of his players, like you said, Hillers, none of his players went the good way for him, other than maybe Welker. And to a degree, Antonio Brown, although that's probably what he was expecting to get from him.
Yeah, but he sucked anyway.
Yeah, so... All right,
anyhow.
well, that clears up the Melon Ballers division. Evan, we already talked about your team and the week you had there, you jerk. But Nick Foles, give me a break.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to say that I expected that, the whole thing. And
I would hunt you down like a dog.
I expected around like 300 yards, 2 TDs. Definitely overperforming what CBS projected him for like 13 points, but not that obviously.
Right. You maybe 20s, mid-20s.
Yeah,
or something.
20 to 30, somewhere in there is what I was expecting.
A 60-point fantasy game is like the Spanish Inquisition. It's like nobody expects it.
Yeah, what was it, Mike? Entering the Monday games, all I needed was Foles, Andre Johnson, and Chiefs D to beat all teams but 2 others.
Yeah.
I think, or something.
Well, Foles and Andre Johnson put up 103.5 just by themselves.
Ridiculous.
They still beat 7 teams.
We don't need to. I'm sure.
Don't need to belabor the point.
Yeah, doesn't want to hear more about my team.
Let's go to the Puppet Masters division next here. We'll start with the highest scoring team this week for the Puppet Masters division, which was yours truly, the Black Widows, who remain undefeated. They beat TDJ 129.6 to 76.9, now winning 4 in a row. Go to 5-7, last place in the division, but only 2 games out of division lead and wild card at this point. Hillers, is it too little, too late?
It's not too little, but it might be too late. I mean, right now, Russell Wilson is a top 10 quarterback. Out of your running back core, it's probably the best in the league, if not, definitely in the conversation with Alfred Morris, Jamal Charles, and Zach Stacy. Nothing wrong with your wide receivers. There's maybe not huge names in there, but when Percy Harvin comes back, he'll have a definite starter, and Josh Gordon, I think, has done enough to prove that he should at least, be in there, easy wide receiver 2 call. So, I mean, this team seems so great, but you went 1-7. You know what I mean? So
yeah. You
got no margin for error at all. And
right.
It's just really hard to maintain streaks of points week and week and week and week, so I love what you've done with the place, but it might be too late. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still on fire. Alfred Morris, by the way, has had 6 touchdowns vultured in the past couple of weeks between Roy frickin' Halou and Darrell Young sitting there watching. Why don't they just give him the ball? He runs him all the way down the field.
You've heard of
and
Darrell Young, right?
You have a touchdown.
He had 3 last week, didn't he?
Yes, and there was a week when Halou had 3 as well, and it's like, come on.
That's kind of funny.
But anyway, Evan, what do you think? You think I got a shot at coming back here, or you think it's over?
Oh, you have a shot. I think your players have finally started performing. You made some moves that have worked out. You've gotten over the David Wilson hump.
Yeah, what a jerk.
But it just comes down to, again, this such a slim margin for error. I'm not going to bet. I'd be more likely to bet against you than on your side.
Smart money's not on you, but your team looks great.
Yeah,
and good score.
It'd be nice if Percy Harvin at least got into a game this past week to start that ball rolling instead of him still not practicing. But
he ran hard on Monday, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Don't you love those newsbreakers? It's like broke a sweat in practice. You're like, and?
Yeah, and Pete Carroll says we're not counting on him this week, whatever the hell that means. I don't know.
Merrill, let's say you're not able to make the playoffs. Oh, hell, if you are able to make the playoffs, which of those 3 running backs are you most inclined to want to trade in the offseason?
I don't know. Whoever can get me something back.
That depends on what the market will bear there, Hillers.
Exactly. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to wait until the last minute and somebody's freaking out and they really need a running back, and I'm gonna pounce.
That's what you need to do that last week.
Or you go early.
You'll end up getting Weenyade. We should call it. So I think you can get a deal done and then not being able to pull the trigger.
I don't want to get Weenyade, but
now you know.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I was like, oh well, once these bye weeks start hitting, then I'll be good because I can plug in James Jones. Well, now James Jones doesn't have a freaking quarterback, so.
Yeah, Seneca Wallace probably isn't going to be putting it to James Jones too much.
Not too excited about that, but yeah, I'm excited about Zach Stacy. He is quite the beast, it turns out. Who knew? Yeah. How did they not start this guy? How did they start Darrell Richardson over this guy? Like, if you watch them run, how is that even possible?
Well, in the preseason, they all looked equally crappy.
They also started Pede over him at least 1 week, too.
Isaiah Pede.
Yeah.
He can't even get on the field.
Yeah. He must have needed a little time to get his bearings or something.
There was also a game where Cunningham got more play than Stacy before they actually gave the ball to Stacy.
Benny Cunningham. Sounds like a jazz musician or something.
Yeah. By the way, the $19 that I spent on Bobby Rainey would have been spent on Zach Stacy
Yeah, I don't know how
that
anybody.
never happens.
I don't know how anybody could have dropped Zach Stacy. If they had him early in the year, like maybe for $1 or something. I'm just glad nobody did that because they'd be kicking themselves right now.
League, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously did your research on Bobby Rainey before you spent the $19.
That's true. Yeah.
We've been over that.
So anyway, I think I'm going to
retract that bully comment from earlier, Merrill.
I'm gonna keep things rolling here, and I'm gonna say I am gonna roll into the playoffs at 9-7. By the way, I got all divisional matchups.
That would be awesome. I mean, I'm pulling for you, man. Go for it. But
I get to play all my divisional teams. If I can give them one more loss, all the better. And then I gotta hope they lose again. So yeah.
If you get through this week, I think you.
Your fortunes are looking up.
You get past the hump. I mean.
Well, and the other thing to look at in our league is points for, which is our tiebreaker. As these things are shaping up, it's probably going to come down to tiebreaker here, and so I'm a little behind the 8 ball on points for, but
keep putting up 130s.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's the next team?
The next team is the Assassins. They beat Nick 125.7 to 81.5, and I feel like this is the week when the Assassins kind of exhaled. Brad kind of exhaled and said, finally, because his players finally started, performing a little bit the way he thought they would.
You mean
they go
Brady?
To 7? Yeah, well, Brady.
Yes.
They go to 7-5,
Yes.
tied for first in the division, but third in the tiebreaker in the division. And I do mean Brady, but I also mean Steven Jackson because he actually showed a little signs of life this week as well. So, Evan, the Assassins. Do you think this is a team that can make it to the playoffs, or was it a team you would bet on making it to the playoffs here? And is Tom Brady being back the reason they get there?
I think it all depends on Brady. He has enough core running backs, receivers to be decent as far as points go, out of those positions. It's all going to depend on Brady. If Brady plays plus or minus 10 points of what he did the last game, he'll have a strong team. If he doesn't, he's out of the playoffs. Not going to make it.
Okay. So based on that, he's got to be encouraged, right?
Well, a little bit, but I'd almost, I wouldn't say it's all Brady. I don't think this is a one-player team. I mean, if he just started Roethlisberger, he still would have won handily. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't have run up the score like he did. Peterson, if he remains solid, I think you're right. I think it depends on some of the guys that need to sort of step up a little bit. stepping out. He could use a solid wide receiver too, particularly now that Seneca Wallace is throwing to Jordy Nelson instead of Aaron Rodgers. I think that is probably one of his bigger concerns there. But basically this is what he thought his team would be doing all season, is his studs just managing to step up a little bit. Particularly Jason Witten, who had his first game or over 10 points in weeks and weeks. You know what I mean?
Another one who kind of started performing. Like
it was sort of popular to hate on the Assassins in the last few weeks, but mid-season review, I had him, I think, as a wild card team, if not a division winner, and I would stick with that wild card team assessment right now.
Yeah, I think I had them in the wild card at the beginning of the year. I think, and I think they do get the wild card. I think they hang on and get it. Brady looks like he's finally, if Amendola's back and with Gronk back, maybe he's finally got some confidence in his receivers a little bit. So I think that's going to help him for sure. He's got Andre Ellington down there who looks to be becoming more and more a part of that offense every week. And
Vereen coming back as depth.
Vereen coming back as well. So like you said, Hiller's a little shallow at receiver right now. But if you consider his wide receiver too his flex guy maybe, then not so shallow. If you look at it that way. So
right.
But yeah, overall, I mean, big bounce back week for the Assassins. I think they're going to be pretty strong coming down the stretch. End Zone Bombardment Squad is our next team here. Evan, Anthony wasn't able to make it tonight. He said he needed a break from fantasy. So
the strain had become too much.
The Angry Bombardment Squad.
The Angry Bombardment
Snapped
Squad.
him like a twig because he lost to the Wigné, I think.
It's like the one I missed last year because I couldn't do it. I couldn't talk about it for an hour. So I can understand that. But they lose to the Wigné this week. He had to be looking at this matchup thinking, all right, well here's one victory going in the doubleheader. And the Wigné finally breaks 70 points, and they put up a 121 spot on him.
Especially when Alex Smith throws up 5.5 points. You got to be thinking, I'm done here.
So he goes to 7-5, tied for first in the division, but he is winning the tiebreaker. Oh, no, I'm sorry, he's not. He is in a wild card spot. He's second in points for the tiebreaker. So he's got a wild card position right now if the playoffs started today. Monday night game, I think, was it the Sunday night or Monday night game, the Colts? That was Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Yeah, I went to bed at halftime of that game, and Anthony was up by like 15, and I wake up the next day, and Wigné has T.Y. Hilton's got 30 points all of a sudden.
30 points!
He scored 3 touchdowns in the second half. Anthony had to be losing it here, Evan. Is this team going to hang on, or are they in the middle of an epic collapse?
So improbable.
No, I think they'll hang on. I mean, Stafford's been putting up points. He's been able to kind of patchwork his receiving core together. I mean, Keenan Allen should continue to see targets, but a little more defensive attention, so he might not quite see the highs that he's been seeing, but he'll still be plenty startable. Giovanni should stay about the same, if not, have a little bit more, a little higher floor moving forward, assuming the ribs are okay. And then Marshawn will be Marshawn.
Yeah, well, Hiller's one of the things regarding that receiving core that you were mentioning was he was looking for someone to he was in the Brandon Marshall talks a little bit.
Yeah, and and we discussed this a little bit earlier. I mean, just to sort of reference strategy there. I mean, I thought my season was blown, and then I saw Rodgers was out for a month, and I knew my season was blown, so. I figure I've got 4 keepers, and I need to fill the spot with the best wide receiver possible for a good value. And at that time, I thought it was Victor Cruz. However, right behind him was Keenan Allen for me.
Right.
Because I just love the way this guy is panning out as a major target and a number 1 wide receiver really for the Chargers.
See, I'm not ready to anoint him.
I'm not ready to anoint him.
Yet.
I'm just saying it seems like he's a guy on the way up.
No, he's a number 1 quote unquote receiver for the Chargers. I'm not sure if I'm quite willing to say.
I don't know if he's a number
keeper.
1 receiver. On a team yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking into next year, it seems like maybe this is a guy that you would catch early in his career and be like, wow, I'm glad I got him early.
I liken him to Garcon last year, where Garcon had the promise.
Sure.
And then he steps in and becomes a target hog next year, assuming he stays in the same role and they don't add another receiver or something like that.
I think that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Right.
And Gio's been great, and Stafford's been great. There's definitely no reason. If he is not in the playoffs, then this team had something of a collapse.
And
Because
don't
he's
forget
got some pieces.
Andre Brown on his bench, who could be a second half monster if
Could be
the
coming
Giants,
back.
The Giants do what the Giants do in the second half of the season, like they always do, which is play well.
They are a team that can get hot. That's for sure.
And Golden Tate underperformed as well. I mean, on a good week, he could have given him another 20 points.
It's not.
Well,
I
another
don't know.
18 points. He had 20-some the week. He had 21 the week before that.
Yeah, but that Seattle passing game is so hot or cold, and
Right.
Curse gets some red zone targets. You can never predict who's going to have.
Now, once this team is in the playoffs, I don't know. But there's no reason they shouldn't get there with the record they've got right now and the players that they have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if Harvin comes back, that's going to hurt Golden Tate as well.
Yeah, but he's not
Sure.
relying on Golden Tate at all. It's going to be
He
Keenan
better
Allen,
not be.
Wallace, and then it's going to be the three running backs he starts between the four of Brown, Miller. Brown and Miller really are the two.
Also, yeah,
that-
said it
that
before,
are
said it
the
again.
The flex decision.
Wallace sucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially with no offensive line there anymore.
He's going to suck a lot more, too.
Yeah. The final team in this division is the Dad Dicks, and they win. They were a benefit of the no kicker for Brett's team this week. And possibly
Benefit
go
of
to
it.
7-5, tied for first in the division, and they are winning it by tiebreaker right now. Evan, is this a team where Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham are going to carry them to the playoffs?
A couple weeks ago, we said that was the only thing carrying the team at all. But
Right.
recently, Woodhead has actually become a player that's highly involved in offense, and Le'Veon Bell's come back and shown he's highly involved in offense. Terrence Williams
Chris Johnson
has stayed.
finally
yeah,
woke
Chris
up.
Johnson has his easy part of the schedule now. That helps a lot. But so whereas before it was all Breeze and Graham, he now has pieces to help Breeze and Graham when they don't necessarily do well. So yeah, it's not just the Breeze and Graham show anymore. It's a solid team now.
That's all I needed was a supporting cast for those two players. Jimmy Graham is the #1 wide receiver in the league.
Yeah,
He's
on pace for he's on pace for like
but-
20 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, he's better. He's better than every wide receiver. Forget tight end. He's better than anyone who catches a football for a living. And then Drew Brees is throwing it to him. So all the time, all he needs that is a supporting cast. And even with McFadden getting hurt like you knew he was going to,
Yeah.
now that Chris Johnson is coming into his easy part of the schedule, this team is definitely, I think, a strong playoff contender.
And to even go further, as much of the dumpster fire this team looked at, the center of their lineup, running back, receiver, look at their bench now. Steve Johnson, Miriam Manningham coming back. Steve Smith's on their bench. Jordan Reed's on their bench.
Eric
McFadden's
Decker
injured
was on a
their
bye
bench.
week this week, and
You
he
know,
still got over 100. Yeah.
It's also deep, so it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if this running back core does improve and continues to show what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
Chris Johnson, he's actually sat the last 2 weeks Chris Johnson's played, and he scored like 16 and 29.
Yeah.
So Chris Johnson might even be a guy,
Yeah.
that you can plug in there if McFadden's hurt. So
Also, I don't want to sleep on Terrence Williams. You know what I mean?
right,
He's
that was a
had
good pickup. Yeah.
really good pickup. He's had many games. I mean, he definitely underperformed this week for some reason against the Vikings, but had a lot of good weeks and
This
looking
was
like
supposed to be Troy owning this team.
a
And
good
stupid Grimes has
cheap
to come in here.
number. Well, he's not sitting on a beach somewhere checking out on this team, so you got a little more trouble than you bargained for.
Troy's normally checked out 3 weeks ago at this point. Stupid Grimes has got to come in and be all good. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the division winner in the end, right? I mean, is that what we think, guys?
I think it's trending upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I feel like Anthony's more sustaining, Dad Dicks are trending upwards, and Assassins are about the same too. They're sort of sticking around, but not really trending up or down.
I've got in this division, unfortunately I've got Anthony on the outside looking in here. Just looking at the three teams and the the players on them, I think Anthony's got the weakest or the fewest weapons on his team compared to these guys, and I think that's where he falls short.
Yeah, I will say that when I did the midseason review, I did not factor in an EBS loss to the Wigné this week.
Yeah, that really
It changes things.
It changes
Makes
things.
this,
It
this
really
doubleheader
does.
week
It's
awesome.
kind of up for grabs now. Yeah, this is really going to be another big double, more consequences. So
I mean, yeah. Yeah, so it could be crazy. All right, let's get into our last division here, the Surly Podcasters. And we'll start with the highest scoring team in the Surly Podcasters, the Ween Yay, who beat EBS 121.5
it's like being in Bizarro World.
to 109.6. They go over to 3-9 on the year. Way to go, Ween Yay. Avoid the old 2-14 via the Hitmen there. Still in fourth place, eliminated. They're last in pretty much everything in the league. But Hillers, maybe some signs of life here.
No, this is crazy. I've never seen a 121 point scoring team whose quarterback and one running back and one wide receiver were all like, under 6 point performers before. Now this is fluky. T.Y. Hilton scoring 3 touchdowns. Gronkowski, okay, that's legit, and you're going to have weeks like that, but certainly not all the weeks. And the same with Deshaun Jackson. He's certainly capable of that, but 21 points is his second highest performance of the year. And since week 2, he hasn't scored up over that. So, and also he had both solid. Anytime a team gets a solid performance, if not an exceptional one, but between their kicker and their defense, it always makes it much more likely they're going to win. He had a great week, and it proves that there are people on this team worth keeping. Maybe you start thinking maybe I would keep T.Y. Hilton, although it might be a little early. This team's gonna be a little bit stronger now that Gronk is back, but I'm not willing to give them anything yet. This team is still a disaster.
Yeah, Evan. This is a team I've always said that if the Eagles play well, this team will do well, and sure enough, the Eagles put up a bunch of points this week, and this team, Deshaun Jackson puts up 20 plus, LaShawn puts up 15, and and they're kind of on their way here. Is this team as bad as their record shows?
Yes.
Well, the answer is yes. It's got like some bright stars, but it's got a lot of black holes too. And that's been the problem. Like they're people that have been producing, either have been alternating weeks where they haven't been producing the same week, or they just haven't carried through the fact that they haven't been getting points from the other positions. Gronk came back way too late for them to really make the run at all. If he comes back a couple weeks early, maybe the record is 5-7 instead, and then he's still a little bit more in it. But T.Y. Hilton he has been a disappointment up until this point.
When the last time the Weenye scored more than 70 points was?
Probably week 2.
Week 2. Week 2. Week 2.
Crazy.
Yeah, below 70 every week since then, and sometimes drastically below.
Yeah.
So. Some bright spots for sure. I mean, anytime you're starting Donald Brown, not due to bye weeks, things aren't going well for you. It's not where any team wants to be, and not that he's looked that bad, but he's just not a guy you want to rely on. So, no surprise here with the Weenye. Just a rough season for them. They do have T.Y. Hilton kind of a bright spot. I'm not sure. McCoy, obviously, he's a guy you can build around. And Gronk looks like the surgeries maybe don't have that big of an effect on him. Looks like he might be okay going into next year. So
you think Case Keenum is a lasting starter in Houston?
Hey, you know what? I mean,
we will find out in a couple weeks.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you got him for $1, and he looks pretty good, man.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
I think this week will be an interesting week because it's a good defense away from home. There is some tape on him now. The defense can really start the game plan for him. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, this team, if the Eagles keep performing, this is a better team than it was a few weeks ago, for sure. So, Dave's team is our next team here. They lose to the Cannons. We kind of knew they were going to lose this week. We had a feeling because of their buys, but they still put up 93.6. Unfortunately, they got doubled. So, they fall to 9-3 on
That's
the
some
year.
rough business.
And they're still in first place. They're 2 games up in the division and looking like they're going to cruise to the division title in the Surly Podcasters here. Evan, were you expecting anything like this from Dave's team at the beginning of the year? I mean, what led to this crazy record they have?
No, I didn't expect it at all. And I mean, he even got it on the backs of not starting a good quarterback for the first few weeks. Frank Gore came out of the gate hotter than they expected. Actually, no, I don't think he did. Like, first 2 weeks he didn't do well, and then all of a sudden he got hot.
In the first week he scored the scoring record.
Yeah, because like Anquan Bolden went nuts, and
Vernon Davis.
Yeah, Vernon Davis went nuts. Like
everybody went nuts.
it's the first couple weeks it was sort of like, no, don't really like the team. Even now I look at it and sort of nothing screams at me. I mean, I don't know. It just performs well. It's consistent, and it has had some high points, usually around the doubleheader weeks.
Yeah. Andrew Luck, 2 30-point weeks in a row, so that trade looking like it's might even might pan out more this year than I thought it would.
Yeah, when we made that trade, I really disagreed with you guys when you said that it wouldn't improve his team point-wise, but because Andy Dalton had like one good game, and Andrew Luck. The difference between Andrew Luck and the receiver he was going to be replacing Demaryius Thomas with was actually greater. He was increasing it by more points by trading for Luck.
Well, right around that trade, I mean, Andy Dalton had 30, 33 points, 40 points a
It was
game.
the week after.
He was looking
after that trade.
looking
Before
good.
that, before that, he was awful. And then he came back to earth. He came back to earth this past week.
Back to earth.
Back to earth.
Welcome to earth.
Welcome to
Andy
earth.
Dalton.
Right. Welcome to Andy Dalton-ness, you mean? That's kind of the deal. I don't know. I mean, his receiver, he's starting Marvin Jones at receiver now. Of course, he's got Brandon Marshall now. I mean, I think this
Who
team
had a long touchdown called back in that game.
He did, but
Yeah.
maybe he wouldn't have had that touchdown if it wasn't for the penalty. But yeah. Fast, man. That was the first time I'd seen him was on that play. Like, that was the first time I'd actually watched him, and man,
Well, he'd only been used as a red zone threat. He'd only been playing limited snaps till that week. Sanu was
right. He was like the Kenny Stills of the Bengals.
yeah.
No, not at all.
Yes. Kenny
But-
Stills.
He's a deep threat. Jones was put in around the red zone to be the guy who catches the sort of fades and out routes around the end zone.
He's a bigger target.
Yeah. Uses his body.
So the receivers, maybe a question after he got rid of Demaryius Thomas, but now he's got Brandon Marshall and Danny Amendola coming in for the price of Victor Cruz, and I think this year that's a big upgrade for him at least, and I think this makes him the new favorite, going in. Just because if there was a weak spot on this team, I would say it's receiver. I mean, this week you look at it's not great, but you plug in Frank Gore there, especially with Sproles going down. Pierre Thomas's value I think is going to go up a little bit too. So I think this team got a lot stronger in the last 2 days than than I had previously thought they were. So he's only been. Go ahead.
Oh well, one thing I think we failed to mention thus far is Eddie Lacy was looking really good. He was really strong, breaking a lot of tackles. And now Seneca Wallace is throwing for the next month or so. They're going to run him to death.
Yeah.
He's going to run till he pukes.
Well, we'll also see if he can handle 8 9-man boxes though.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was running through a lot of guys. I mean, it wasn't fancy pants stuff. It's like they were running on the outside some, but I feel like he's a guy that can break a tackle, and if he gets more than 20 carries a game, is going to be able to get you maybe not 21 points, but 67 yards, 60, 70, and a touchdown, on a weekly basis wouldn't be surprising to me at all.
Another Frank Gore.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean, so you're starting Frank Gore, Eddie Lacy, Pierre Thomas, Frank Gore, Eddie Lacy, and then Amendola, Marshall, and Denarius Moore or somebody
Pick
like
your
that.
poison on your flex for matchups.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a strong lineup up and down here. So
yeah. If D'Angelo Williams would keep getting his touchdowns vultured, or stop getting his touchdowns vultured by Tolbert.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen, but I mean, he's like one touchdown vulture away from...
D'Angelo's not sniffing his starting lineup unless there's like an injury to both Lacy and Gore, since he has Starks to back up Lacy.
Right.
And Jonathan Stewart's back now too. I mean that running back, that backfield's a mess. So
it is a mess.
D'Angelo's a bench guy right now until something changes in that backfield. So great team here for Dave. He made a win now move, which when you're 8-3 or 9-3,
time to do that.
That's what you do. So we'll see how that goes. I think Dave's team, Evan's team are kind of the top favorites right now. So the next team we have on our list,
we'll be seeing this matchup again.
Yeah. Touchdown Jesus is our next team here. They fall victim to the Black Widow here. Put up 76.9 points to Black Widow's 129. They go to 7-5. They're in second place in the division, 2 games out of first, but they are tied for the wild card right now, but losing in points 4. There's 4 teams at 7-5, and they are last in points 4 of those teams. Hillers, you have poo-pooed this team from time to time. Do you think this team can make a run and creep into the playoffs? over the other teams in the.
They could, but I don't favor them over the other teams just because I see pluses and minuses here. You know what I mean? And I feel like any team that I still have, it's kind of a weakness, is going to maybe fall to some of the teams that I feel are really on the upsurge. You know, it's not like this team doesn't have great players. Matt Forte has been coming up really big, in the last couple of weeks, getting well over 20. In the last couple times he played, and I know Calvin Johnson was on a bye this week. Chris Ivory seems to be clearly, the Jets, real running back, at least for now.
Yeah, that was a big pickup by him. I mean, that was off waivers. I think he picked him up.
Right.
So
Des Bryant is of course amazingly solid. But other than that, I don't like his running back too. I'm not sure who's in his flex here from week to week.
You just said Chris Ivory as his running back too, right? Or Ryan Matthews.
Okay, so is Ryan Matthews your flex? If he's your flex still, he's sort of iffy. He's had more games under 6 points than he's had games over 10.
Yeah.
It's still just a giant question mark at RB2. Ryan Matthews and Chris Ivory, they're both dependent on game plan and just the way the game goes during the game.
This was by far Chris Ivory's best game too.
If the Jets and the Chargers get ahead, they're going to give the ball to Matthews and Ivory. If they don't, Powell will probably be in more on passing downs, and Woodhead will be in. It's just kind of the way it is. You can't trust either of them.
Right.
There's just not much of a margin for error in the wild card race right now, with 4 of our league's teams at 7-5, and a doubleheader week coming up here, but
his margin for error kind of gets Des Bryant and Calvin Johnson.
Right.
Yeah, they make up for it, right? Those are 20-point receivers basically that you can't really count on, but you almost expect around 20 points from these guys every week. And
you basically have to reverse his roster. Calvin Johnson, Des Bryant is his running backs, and then Forte is like his wide receiver 1, and then then it's just a question mark at wide receiver 2 in a way. It's like a lot of other rosters out there. It's really strong, just in a different way.
So, he's got a big matchup this week then, I would say, coming against the duplex of mediocrity.
Yep.
That's huge. I think he can beat the Chupanibres, who's also playing, but...
Yeah. This is the team again. He's got his 4 studs, right? He's got Cam, Forte, Dez, and Calvin.
Yep.
And if they put up a big week, then he's going to do well. The rest
of it... It's the fate of the studs and duds teams.
Yep. Yeah. The rest of it kind of... I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but those guys are where it's going to happen for him if it happens. So this week it didn't. Cam put up a slightly below average week, and Calvin was on bye. So
yeah, the week before this, though, everybody was completely high on him because he had a 127-point game. So
it's because Calvin Johnson had 43 points.
That'll help.
Or 49 or something. Yeah.
He folded.
329 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna. He's probably got I don't want to say the easiest schedule going in, but he's got an easier schedule than I think the guys in my division do going in. So, we'll see. If his studs show up, then he's got a good chance.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hillers, you are our final team here. Though
I think we're running a little short on time
over the week, and you pull out a victory by scoring 67 points, and you go to 6-6 on the year. 3rd place in your division, 3 games back, but only 1 game out of the wild card, yet you felt it was time to fire sale. Evan, what do you think of Hiller's trade that he made?
The trade...
What was that?
I was defending you against bullying accusations earlier in this podcast, I'll have you know.
Oh, wait, what? Yeah. Anyways, we can get into that. We can get into that after.
When you watch.
Yeah. I was laughing because I was expecting a different question, and then he actually went with this past trade. I actually don't have a giant problem with this past trade.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I like to throw curveballs like that sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of knew what the market was bearing for Brandon Marshall. So, for him to get a top 5 receiver or keeper value, who's going to have to give up something else in addition to Marshall, because no one is interested in a $42 receiver, really.
No one really wanted him all that much. I asked everyone.
Yeah, no one's really giving a good equivalent keeper that's just a salary dump to increase their wide receivers for a couple points a week. It's just the way it is. So I didn't have a problem. I know Mike by his league posting did, but I still think the Winier trade at the beginning of the season takes the cake for worst trade of the year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, me and Hiller's talked about this pre-podcast a little bit, and I think it's going to be our only fire sale trade of the year, basically, our only kind of dump trade of the year. But I was saying, I felt like Marshall for Cruz seemed fair to me. I mean, the fact that he threw Amendola in, because Hiller's was asking me about Keenan Allen versus Cruz, and I was saying, well, I like Cruz in a vacuum better than that, but I thought that was straight up for Marshall. If he had, since he had to pay Amendola as well for Cruz, if he could have gotten Keenan Allen for only Marshall, I'd have said Allen, I think, because I'm kind of a Danny Amendola fan for some reason, but when he plays, you start him like he is
You like those 3 games that he's been in?
Yeah, but I mean, he's played the last 2 weeks and he hasn't done much either.
Right. He had 1.5 the game before this.
He had like 18 points this week.
In week 5 he played, he got less than 6.
But I think part of that is the Patriots' offense coming back together and gelling a little bit. It hasn't really been
some of it. But and like I said earlier, here's what I'm looking at. Off-season, number 2 wide receivers have very little value. They tend to be people's last keeper, and people only trade between 5 people. So the market is a lot different than it is in the regular season. And I already have, I think, 4 keepers that I'm comfortable with, and so my only concern was getting the best single name possible for that 5th slot. And Cruz was the best name that anyone was willing to give me with Marshall in there without me having to engage somebody else I would have had on my keeper list there. So.
Well, and we buried the lead a little bit here because Hiller's your boyfriend, your pride and joy. Aaron Rodgers goes down with a collarbone injury.
Yeah, that's really bad. I mean, I was like, I've lost in fantasy
to mortality,
football.
buddy.
I've lost in fantasy football, but hey, Packers are doing good, and I just know they're going to kill these stupid Bears. And first drive, I'm like, ouch, that looked like it. Oh, he's going to the sidelines. Oh, he'll shake it off. Okay, he's going to the locker room. I'm sure they're just being cautious. Will not return. I was like, I'm sure they just don't want to injure him.
Where's the rum? Oh my God, he's a drink.
I was like, no. Why? Why must you strip everything from me? Why is Joe Flacco now my quarterback? Actually, it was funny when we were talking
Hillers, what was your record after week 3?
Oh, it was like it's like 1 and 6.
6-1, you mean? No. This week.
He was 4-0 after week 3.
I was 4-0 and then I went 1 and 6. I mean, this has been an utter collapse.
2 and 6 now.
I've been plummeting like a damn soul into Hades.
Mike, you have to go back and the previous podcast and just do a compare and contrast to Hiller's tone after that week to what it is now.
It went from smarmy to bye.
It went from pure arrogance to Hillers.
The grin on his face, when he was reading the power rankings and he had himself number 1, just the grin he had on his face. I guess I gotta pick me.
I was struck down for my hubris. My team sucks. This team blows goats, and I'm a terrible owner.
But at the time, man, you were a strong team. We were running through it, and it's like your keepers were Rodgers, Murray, who's still going on, Alfred Morris, Brandon Marshall, and Danny Amendola, and only one of them is currently playing for you right now. And when you look at that and you think, what happened? What did I get for them? And you can't really figure it out without looking back through transactions.
The twin swords of fate and poor management cut through my team like Sherman's March. I mean, this is terrible, and I have myself to blame.
So
I am a newer, humbler Hiller's epidemic as of this week.
One final question. Our power rankings. I'm not sure if you've done any or not on this, but Hiller's, so would you have bailed on this season if Rodgers didn't get hurt? If you won this week, we're at 6-6 and still had Rodgers, would you have?
He did win this week, scoring 67 points.
Yeah, but I'm saying Rodgers got hurt. So is that why you sold Marshall?
I probably would have pursued a Marshall for Keenan Allen straight up trade still, and been okay with it because I don't feel like that would have been as much of a bail as adding Amendola to that.
Okay.
Because
you realize you're fire sailing and you're only 1 game out of the playoffs right now, right?
Mathematically, but I really put a lot
emotionally.
of faith in.
I'm 4 games out.
But yeah, I'm dead inside. But I did a lot of research when I did that mid-season review, and I was looking at matchups and who's coming up and who's going down, and so targets and everything. His transactions and the whole enchilada. And I would have loved to have put myself in the playoffs, and I just didn't see it. And after Rodgers got hurt, I was like, well, now I really don't see it. Yeah, I actually mistyped it auto-corrected in my text to Anthony about him, Joe Flaccid, and I was like, actually, that's not too bad. That's let's just call him that.
Stupid autocorrect.
No, that's an accurate autocorrect at that point.
As a Ray Rice owner,
right.
I have a lot to say about that goddamn offense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're not good right now.
No.
All right, let's get into our power rankings here, guys. We're getting a little long in the tooth as usual, or about
As
normal
usual.
in the tooth, I guess.
Normal in the tooth.
Evan, did you put together power rankings? Or?
I sure did.
All right. Look at
Right
this.
on.
I'm
Way
prepared.
to go.
How was your HOA meeting, by the way? How'd that go?
We have a new secretary.
Yeah.
We have my other cohort in the board. Yeah.
Do they make you coffee in the morning and stuff? Like,
no, they don't do any of that. No.
Oh. Answer your phone.
More importantly, she's now going to be in training to take over my position come 2014. So that's more important.
Is there a lot of training for that?
Takes a lot just to get used to what's going on and get used to people's
It's more
personalities.
diligence, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
To meet Evan's high standards, there's a lot of diligence.
I always wonder what goes on at those HOA meetings. I feel it's like people just screaming at each other about, who peed in the pool or something.
It's a lot of complaining and me going, do we have the money? And the answer is no. And me saying, do we want to raise HOA dues? And the answer is no. And they say no. So it's like they complain and then we don't have money and then it kind of just fixes itself. But anyways, yeah.
And
Issue
nothing
closed.
gets done. And we leave in the same state we came. All right. All right, let's get into power rankings then. We'll let our guest go first here. Evan, go ahead and give us 12-7 if you don't mind.
12-7. First two are very easy, even in this order. You
Yeah.
have Chupa Libres and the Winier.
Oh, you have Chupa at 12, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the stars will burn a little brighter than the crappiness of the Chupa Libres. The stars of the Winier will burn a little brighter than the crappiness of the Chupa Libres.
Gotcha.
Then we go with the PBJ, and then we go Hillers,
Okay.
and then the Tigers, and then we go with the Assassins.
Okay. Wow, Assassins at 7. All right.
It's a combination of who would I want to face now with a little bit of record, but I would say 80% of who I want to face now. So it's more present value than cash value.
Hillers.
That's legit. All right, still got the Winier at 12, although, love their spirit, putting up their first good week in many a week here.
They're
I've
a
got
spirited bunch, that Winier. Masters of elegance and spirit.
It's an elegant performance by them. It's Chupa Libres at 11, myself at 10. Boy, how the mighty have fallen.
It's a long
This is
fall.
like 2s and 1s for weeks and weeks, and then 10. Anyway,
And then Alfred Morris for Julius Thomas.
well, that wasn't smart either. PBJ, I
That is
have
where it
at
started
9.
going bad, isn't it?
Tigers at 8, and Feisty Goats at 7.
Who are the feisty ghosts?
Yeah.
Oh, that's still what you're labeled in my thing here.
Well, I have the exact same 12-7 as you, Hillers.
Wow.
So, I don't know that I need to repeat it. So.
I did.
Evan.
I did change your name to Black Widows, and I've
you.
said it before, but nothing improves a team's record like a self-defeatist team name change
Yes.
and logo switch. Every
It's
time a
amazing,
team
the
does
little
that, they go
things.
on a massive winning streak.
All right, Evan. 6-1, man.
We go with the Widows at number 6. And I apologize for this in advance. EBS at 5.
Why are you apologizing for that?
Yeah.
I know how reactions can be.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna lower his rank then.
And then
Make yours look better.
number 4 is TDJ, followed by the Dad Dicks. Number 3, Duplex at 2, and then Cannons at 1.
Okay. Hillers.
I have TDJ at 6.
Wow.
Duplex at 5. Actually, yeah. No, that's not correct. I've got EBS at 5. Duplex at 4.
You doing this on the fly here, Hillers?
No, not on the fly. I made a mistake.
Okay.
Just one in a long string of mistakes that has been 2013 Fantasy Football. Dad Dicks at 3.
Good to have you back, Hillers.
Yeah, okay, yeah, great to be here. so glad y'all like this one better.
Yeah, this confident Hillers the first half of the year was weird for me.
Yeah, no one liked that. Okay,
Yeah.
I got Assassins at 2 and Cannons at 1.
All right.
I will say, because I think I only told Mike this a few times, I enjoyed it when you were talking about your own team, Hillers, but when you started doing your fantasy analysis, it was driving me absolutely. Because at least like old Hillers and current Hillers was like, I haven't really looked, but here's my feelings. The Hillers of the first couple weeks was like, I'm winning, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never think that again. I can't imagine I ever will.
Here's the secret. None of us really know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So.
That's it.
Exactly.
We're all bullshitting,
Yeah.
but now I know for sure.
guess it's not really
oh
a secret,
boy,
but-
I am bad.
Yeah. All right.
I am
At
bad at
6
this.
At 6, I've got the EBS. I guess I'll apologize too for that.
No, both of
okay.
you were wrong.
All right.
If we're all three are kind of consensus on that, we don't have to apologize.
We're pretty
Yeah.
close.
At
Any
5,
one person. If you'd have put him at 12, you don't have to apologize.
well, and that's why I've got him outside the playoffs right now, and that's why I've got him at 6. So these 5 would be my playoff teams right now. 5, I've got Assassins. 4, I've got Dad Dicks. 3, I've got TDJ. At 2, I've got the Cannons. And Dave, who is a team I did not believe in until like week 7, I have at 1, mainly due to the Marshall Amendola trade that he just got. I think that's going to help.
Because I was about to ask you, what was I last week on your power rankings? And then I moved down to 2 after scoring 160.
Well, no, I was saying I think Dave's lineup improved.
You did.
Or 180, sorry. Not even 160.
Well, I'm going to take the under on 180 this next week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go.
I guess Dave did beat me. He did score 184 earlier in the season. So.
Yeah. We'd never even approached that in any previous
No, it was
season.
like 160s.
Yeah.
The highest.
Yeah, it was like 159 or whatever was like the highest score before that.
So we won't do predictions, but what we'll do is just kind of summarize. I think since we're kind of coming down the home stretch here, I guess what we think when we've kind of said it earlier in the podcast, how we think these playoffs will shake out. I mean, I think we all probably think Evan and Dave are in as division winners, right? I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Evan's pretty much clinched already, and Dave is right about there.
Yeah, Nick's not winning 4 in a row.
So who do you think wins the division with between Dad Dicks, Anthony, and Assassins there?
I'm gonna take Assassins with Dad Dicks in the wild card, but could easily go the other way.
Okay, I'll go the other way. I would take the Dad Dicks with Assassins in the wild card.
I think it's Dad Dicks, EBS, and wild card.
Yeah.
And
actually, you know what? I
all
said
those
earlier in the
all
podcast.
those are
I said I was
probable.
going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm predicting I'm going to make it. Sorry, Assassins, you're out. I'm going to be in with the improbable 8 wins in a row to get me into the playoffs.
That would be pretty awesome if you did that.
So that means we've got one wild card spot left. Does that go to TDJ or does that go to a team from the Puppet Masters division?
Right now, it's looking like both wild card teams might come from Puppet Masters to me.
I think it goes TDJ. It's definitely not coming from my division, so it's either going to be TDJ or it's going to be some weird confluence of EBS, Assassins, Bad Dicks things. Whoever's odd man out. I just still can't bet for you. Talk to me next week, Mike, and then that whole order of your division might change if you come through 7-7.
Yeah, I mean, if I go 7-7, that means I beat somebody in my division, so
Yep.
they'll have one more loss, and then who knows what the other, another team in my division will have a loss because they're playing each other.
I mean,
So-
I think I have you ahead of the Assassins in my power ranking. It's just a matter of your record now. You have an uphill battle there.
And the other team is Nick. Nick's sitting at 5-7 too, so he's not too far away. I mean, 5-7 teams are not really out of it. I mean, they could come back. I think it's been done before at this point, but
I don't think the Lightsaber Suit Tigers know how to score points without receivers. Starting LaFell and Stills.
Yeah, what happened to what happened to Nick's team? He used to be all receivers, no running back.
Completely. And currently, Darren Sproles is in his starting lineup. What the hell is that?
He can only focus on one position at a time.
Shush, I'm playing Nick this week. Sproles is a good start.
Well, he doesn't have anybody on his bench that he could sub for him, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Got to pick
So
up
they'll
somebody.
be-
And there isn't much on the waiver wire for running backs.
For running backs, it's pretty slim.
No,
It's
it's
Rashad
the
Jennings.
Oakland guy. Yeah, it's
Rashad Jennings.
And his
How much-
$5 is not going to do that.
I'm putting in more
Yeah.
than that for Rashad Jennings.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like everybody's down to like the scraps and their money. They got nothing left. They're like, do I just blow everything on Rashad Jennings? God help me. Yeah, it's we're down to the dregs in the fab. So, all right. Well, that's kind of how I guess we think things shake out. And next week we'll come back and have totally different predictions because everything's probably going to change. So, good luck to everybody in Week 10. Evan, thanks for joining us. Your first time on the football podcast, anyway. And we did a baseball one.
With the typical technical difficulties that my computers have at this stupid apartment.
That's how we do things around here.
Yeah. Normally they're just done before we start. So you got to do it live on air, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was going on until I signed on. I was like, oh, it's actually happening right now.
Yeah, but you powered through. So one final happy Marooned Without a Compass Day to everybody. And this for Hillers and Anthony and Evan, this is Mike saying we will talk to you guys later.
Peace.